Welcome to your neurology review. Today we're going to go through an overview of the nervous system, its branches, and some key components that you need to know to be prepared for the neurology section of your NPLEX 1 board exam. Starting out on this slide, we actually have a comparison of the different areas of the nervous system, starting with the central nervous system and peripheral nervous system. Central nervous system consists of the brain and spinal cord. Our peripheral nervous system is everything outside of there. It has two subdivisions, a sensory or afferent division that is sending sensory signals from the periphery to the central nervous system. And we have the motor efferent division, which is all motor fibers sending information out to the periphery to organs. Of the motor efferent division, we have the somatic nervous system, which is our musculoskeletal nervous system, the voluntary motor nerve fibers. And we have an autonomic nervous system, which is broken down into a sympathetic division and parasympathetic division. Within the nervous system, we have, of course, neurons that are our key cells in the nervous system, but these neurons are supported by cells called neuroglial cells. And some key neuroglial cells include astrocytes. Astrocytes are the most abundant, and they are in the central nervous system. They have lots of varying functions, including supportive roles for neurons, exchanging with nutrients between capillaries and neurons, guiding young neurons into their adult place, and controlling even the chemical environment around neurons to influence their neuronal functioning. Microglial cells are small cells that are located in the central nervous system that are part of the immune system of the central nervous system. They can transform and phagocytose microorganisms as well as neuronal debris. Our ependymal cells range in different shapes and sizes, but their whole purpose is to line the cavities of the brain and spinal cord that contain cerebral spinal fluid, creating the barrier between cerebral spinal fluid and the actual central nervous system tissue structures. And these cell types tend to be ciliated to allow for beating or movement of cerebral spinal fluid. And our last microglial or our last neuroglial cell in the central nervous system are oligodendrocytes. These are branched cells that are going to attach to different axons within the central nervous system, myelinating them. And we can find these in thicker nerve fibers. Our thinking about our different kind of ventricles or cavities within the brain, we can go all the way back to development and all the way back to central nervous system development and how we started out. So our initial kind of developmental stage from an embryologic perspective starts with the neural tube. The neural tube is kind of this just tube that's going to be eventually become our brain, our central nervous system structure, and our spinal cord. Once the neural tube is formed, we then start to create these primary brain vesicles. This includes our forebrain or our prosencephalon, our midbrain, our mesencephalon, and our hindbrain or rhombencephalon. And then these primary brain vesicles break into secondary brain vesicles, and these are high yield because these translate into adult brain structures and contain specific cerebral spinal fluid canals or ventricles. So our telencephalon is what's going to become our cerebrum, the cerebral hemispheres, cortex, white matter, basal nuclei, and it contains our lateral ventricles. Our diencephalon, it becomes the same name, which contains the middle of the brain structures, our thalamus, our hypothalamus, our epithalamus, and the retina. And that also contains our third ventricle. Our mesencephalon is part of our brainstem, and it contains the midbrain and also the cerebral aqueduct, which connects to the fourth ventricle. And the fourth ventricle spans both the metaencephalon and myelencephalon, which contain the rest of our brainstem, the pons and the medulla oblongata. And the cerebellum comes from the metaencephalon as well. And lastly, our spinal cord contains our central canal. In adults, we have four major brain regions, our cerebral hemispheres, the diencephalon, our brainstem that has the midbrain pons and medulla oblongata, as well as our cerebellum. When we come back, we're going to look at how we organize our white and gray matter of the brain and the spinal cord.